If you have tried vibe coding with Cursor, what you see on the screen probably looks very familiar. You just get to make a small change and suddenly your entire project breaks. The thing is that Cursor rewrites random parts of your code, loses track of the dependencies, or just spits out logic that doesn't make any sense. And the thing is that it's just not with Cursor. This happens with most AI coding agents once the context of the project gets too big. But this doesn't have to happen because I found this one approach that has made a massive difference to the way I build with AI coding agents. And it's what I call task coding. And it just works by giving your AI coding agent a proper task management system that it can follow. And in this way, Cursor knows the bigger picture, but also understands what to do step by step clearly, and it never overloads its context. And I used this exact method to build a fully working multi-page app with charts and authentication, with barely no errors at all, and with a few shots. So I barely prompted it, and it generated this entire app for me. And so in this video, I will show you exactly how I set up this task management system, how I structure my prompts and my workflow to get clean, reliable results with Cursor. The thing is that this process is nothing new. People have been doing it for a while in Cursor and other AI coding editors. So how this works is you create a PRD or a process requirement document. And then what you would do is ask Cursor to break that down into smaller tasks and then put those into some markdown file as you see over here. And then as you keep completing tasks or functionalities, then you would ask Cursor to, for example, tick off line 11 or 12. And the thing is that this process already works really well when it comes to just organizing your setup a bit more. But now we have the ability to integrate more sophisticated task management systems such as Claude Task Master over here that are able to integrate directly within your command line interface or terminal. And they provide much larger level of control over the tasks. As you can see here, you can measure the tasks progress, or you can measure which ones are high priority or not. And it tells you what task to work on next. As well, it has access to MCPs, so you can give the Cursor agents the ability to write or remove tasks or even edit tasks by themselves. And the way this works in a nutshell is by you creating a PRD text file with the Cursor agent by chatting back and forth to understand what you want. And once that's created, then you can run the command Parse PRD within Taskmaster, and it will create you a table with all the main tasks that Cursor needs to work on. So the main columns are the status and the priority column, which I think are important to complete the tasks. But then you have these other two columns, which I think are so useful and I haven't seen in any other tool or system that manages tasks. And the first one is the ability to understand dependencies between tasks. And this is going to allow you to minimize errors massively because it's going to understand whenever doing a task, okay, well, I actually need this first task completed before doing this other one. And I think that's a massive upgrade. And then you have the complexity column as well, which is going to use a specialized model that is going to access the internet, grab any live, right, up-to-date libraries or packages, bring that back in order to understand how complex that task is. So I think these two columns are very, very helpful and are going to minimize errors so much. So yeah, I will be covering all of this in a second. I will show you how to set up Taskmaster and also all the best practices that I discovered along the way whilst building this project. So let's get started straight away. Right, so the first thing you should do is open a new project within Cursor, and we are going to open the command line interface to install Taskmaster globally. So you can be in any folder, it doesn't matter because we're installing it globally. So npm install /g Taskmaster AI. So go ahead and start that. Let's install Taskmaster. And once done, now we have the option of initializing it globally as well. But before doing that, I do recommend that you start with a project structure. So if you want to start a Next.js project with ShatCN components, then you would do npx ShatCN at latest initialize. I love ShatCN because the components are very sleek and clean. So I'm going to go ahead and start ShatCN. Okay, to proceed, yes. All right, now we have set up the project structure. And now that's when you can now do the other command, which is Taskmaster initialize. So we're going to grab that, paste it over here. And yeah, so shell aliases, this allows you to type TM instead of Taskmaster for any commands that Taskmaster allows you to run. So I think these are some common commands. There you go. You can list all the tasks, show the next task, generate task files, and a couple more. But we're going to put yes, because I think that's helpful. Yes, let's continue. So we're enabling a new MCP server, Taskmaster AI, perfect. So I think we have a couple of choices for the models we can use. Right, so we got a couple, I mean, all of them I think nearly are from OpenRouter. We have a local one as well, but we're gonna keep it the same. right? For now. We're gonna do Sonar Pro as well. So I see that we're getting two models. I think the first one is to, it says for generation or updates. So for managing all the tasks. And I think the research model is for researching online, to research any update packages or libraries that we need to add on the project. Because I think the Sonar Pro is the model from Perplexity, and these are great at researching online compared to the main models such as GPT or Claude, right? They're not that good at researching up-to-date stuff online, and that's why I'm pretty sure they used Sonar Pro for the current one, for the predetermined one. So let's go ahead and select that fallback model. Okay. So we're set up, and we have even a task list to follow. So that's great. If you notice closely, you would see that now we have a few folders and files that got added when we initialized Taskmaster over here. So if you open this one, you would see that we have new rules. If you haven't seen these cursor rules before, well, this is something that is recommended for you to add before starting any project with Cursor. And as the name suggests, these are rules that the Cursor agent follows in the development of your app. So there's a couple of them. The first one being the cursor rules. And this is the rule that we give Cursor to make new rules. The second one that you see over here gives the agent, we're giving the agent essentially all the commands that it needs to check all of the tasks in the background. Then I see on this one, it's similar to the first cursor rule, but essentially with this one, it's telling the cursor agent to create rules proactively. So it's just kind of reinforcing the fact that, it should make rules for specific circumstances. All right, and this last cursor rule seems to be a more detailed version of this one over here. And I see that it has emphasis as well on MCP tools. And I think it pretty much covers all of the main commands that it should run. So that's pretty good. But I think the essential one to start, given the instructions, is to go to this one over here, .def.example. And I'm going to separate these because these two seem to be the important ones over here. So this first one is, as we said, for the first model, to manage the general task management process, and then Perplexity for doing the research on the internet. Right, so let me quickly stop and add my API keys before I end up sharing my screen and have you guys use $500 of my credits. Okay, 1 second. All right, so once you've added your API keys, make sure to change the name of the .env.example. Make sure to just remove the example part, because then this environment file won't be usable. Right, so now that's set up, we have reached the fun part, which is chatting back and forth with Cursor in order to solidify the idea for your app. And once you understand how that's going to work, then you're going to ask Cursor to create a PRD for you. If you don't know what PRD stands for Project Requirement Document. And this is kind of the Bible that the Cursor agent is going to follow in order to build the app for you. And I have talked already about this in a video that I made before about Cursor. And I really believe it's important, especially as a non-developer, for you to have this, because if you don't, there's a high chance that you're going to end up in some loophole or end up producing spaghetti code that if you then give to a developer is going to be really hard to untangle. So you're going to treat Cursor, especially the Cursor agent, as a junior software developer. So whilst they're really good at, creating pieces of code and developing apps for you, they need to be spoon-fed. So you need to tell them exactly what they need to do at every single step. And that's what a PRD helps with. All right, so what we need to do now is switch this to ask mode. Okay, this is the chat. I think it was called chat before, but we don't want it actually making anything yet, right? You just want to ask, figure out what we want to do. All right, so once you've had a back and forth conversation with Cursor to understand what exactly you want to build, then we can switch this from ask mode to agent mode over here so that it can create a PRD for us, right? And we will be using the example PRD text file that got created when we initialized Taskmaster. And one thing that I wanted to make sure, I guess this is optional, but I wanted it to understand what tech stack am I using for this project so that it has a bit of context when creating the PRD. So we will be writing here the following. And also make sure to switch this to Gemini 2.5 Pro or any of the models that have the max mode. Gemini 2.5 Pro as well, because it has an immense context window. Right, so here's the prompt. Great, now build the process requirements document, PRD, with the core MVP features into prd.txt. So I'm going to ask it to create a new text file, and it's going to use this file as reference, right? The example PRD over here. All right, and don't forget to switch to Gemini 2.5 Pro or any model that has a large context window so that we can get as detailed of a PRD as possible. and make sure to switch to agent mode as well so that we can create that PRD file and also, read the example PRD file as well. So we're gonna go ahead and execute that. Right, so we see the PRD here, and I think it goes until 165 lines of code. So I think that's pretty good for an MVP. Hi there, just briefly want to stop the video to announce that I have finally launched my community, Neuro Architects, where I plan to bring together the smartest people in this space and business owners that want to build the systems of the future together using artificial intelligence. So inside this community, you'll find everything ranging from all the templates that I will make from the YouTube videos, as well as exclusive community calls, and also so much other stuff. So join right now, stay tuned, and I'll see you inside. Okay, so now that we have the PRD, we can go to the next step, which is parsing the PRD to generate the main tasks. And this is where the magic of Taskmaster starts. So we're gonna go ahead and add the command over here in the CLI, and let's make sure we put in the right file. So in our case, it's all in high caps, prd.txt. So let's go ahead and run that. Now it's gonna grab that PRD text file and generate the main tasks for us. Right, so we see that it generated 10 new tasks, and we get the cost of the output and all that. So this is great. Now what we can do is run taskmaster list in order to see the tasks. So this should show us a table with the tasks. So let's go ahead and view the tasks. And it shows us a couple things. So the next task to work, and also this beautiful table over here that contains, well, many things. So the title of the main task, the status, the priority, which makes a lot of sense. And this is honestly one of the best things that you can add here. So the dependencies. So when you are working with an AI-powered code editor, such as Cursor or Windsurf, it can be really easy to get stuck in a loop because you're telling the agent to do certain things, but you don't know in what order does those tasks need to be done. So it could be that you're doing task number 3, and before doing task number 3, you should have done task number 5 or task number 1, because you depend on those tasks in some way, right? There's some function or some piece of code that is required on another place. So having these dependencies listed over here is going to save you so much trouble. And I really think this dependencies property here is very special, and it's going to allow you to just develop with Cursor at such high speeds. And also, if you didn't realize, on the side, on the task folder, it has also created these different text files, each containing, well, a lot of things, right? So the task ID, the details, and so on. And then at the end, you can see this tasks.json file, which I'm pretty sure the Cursor agent can use to dynamically change any of the tasks or any details if it needs to, and perhaps create new text files if it needs to as well. And there's also this other really useful feature called Analyze Complexity. So if I type in Taskmaster, analyze complexity. So this is going to allow us to use, remember at the start that I asked you to put the API keys for 2 models, right? So you had the first model, which was Claude, and this one is going to manage the overall tasks and whatnot. And then you had the second model, which was the Perplexity model. And this Perplexity model, we were like, well, what is this going to be used for? Well, this is one of the places it's going to be used for, because it's going to use Claude, but also this Perplexity model to go online and verify or understand how hard it is to implement certain features. So if you press enter over here, it's going to go ahead and analyze the complexity of those tasks. So it's going to use Claude 3.7, which is the one that we chose, and also Sonar Pro. So it's going to go online and in real time search how feasible or how hard these tasks are to implement, which is really, really powerful stuff. And once this is complete, we can then run Taskmaster. I can even just copy it from here because it's suggesting us to do that. So we can run that, and it's going to give us a complexity report, right? It's going to give us a split of all the tasks, how complex they are. And you can understand how powerful this is as well. And something that is even more useful is these expansion commands that we have here. So if any of the tasks are really complex to do, we can use these commands, put them on the command line interface. And what's going to happen is that it's going to break this big task into smaller subtasks. And you understand that if you do this, well, the big tasks become more manageable. So in order to do that, you can't do it directly. They probably should fix it, but I'm pretty sure they're on that. But you can just go on the JSON file that they made, go to that task. So if we go to task ID number 3, and we can just copy this over here. So expansion prompt, right? So you can copy that and then go down here, paste it. Right, so I copy the first part, which allows me to, and then for this, I'll use this. So right here, just copy all that. And then go on down here, paste that over there. And now if you press enter, it's gonna go ahead and generate those 5 subtasks for the hardest task. And yeah, right, and once you have generated those subtasks, if they don't appear here for some reason, you can go ahead and check task master list with subtasks. And you can see here the subtasks that I have added. So I have added one for ID 3, and I was off camera, I added another one for task ID number 6, right? So this is really good. Right, so you can keep doing this over and over again until you're happy with the amount of tasks that they are. You can keep making subtasks. But the main thing is that you understand that the more you can break it down into simpler tasks, the less errors you're gonna have with the cursor agents or whatever agents that you use, because you're just breaking a bigger task into more manageable chunks. So that's the whole idea with this, and it's brilliant. And let's say also that you want to change a specific task, right? Let's say the project has changed for some reason. Now you require another package or another auth provider. Let's say instead of Supabase, you want to use Clerk. What you can do is go and type taskmaster update, and then you can put the ID of the task. So ID, let's say, I don't remember what the auth was. So the auth flow was, I think it was at the start, right? The user auth system. So ID equals 2, and then you can type in, well, the prompt, right? You want to change the prompt, so you can go ahead and do this, and then put, please change from Supabase auth to Clerk auth, right? And what this is going to do is create all of these tasks again with the subtasks in order to accommodate this change. So this is really powerful as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this part. If you want to go ahead and check the tasks again, you can run that same command that I showed you before, right? Run list tasks with subtasks, and then you can go again and check, you know, if the structure of the IDs are correct, or you want any more granularity, you know, would you want to be more specific with some of the tasks. But once you reach this point, you are pretty much ready to start getting started with building with the cursor agent. Also, something that I forgot to tell you guys is that you can run the expansion of the tasks, right? Expanding a task into more subtasks. You might not need to copy the prompt over here inside the task, the report on JSON. I think it does it automatically. So if you just mention the ID, it would do this. It would do this automatically. Just to add that over there. Yeah, because it generated the subtask for 7. But yeah, I think if you just mentioned ID, it would grab the prompt from there, but you could copy the prompt as well and add stuff onto it if you want. I think that's how it would work. Right, so now we can get started, and we can just say, let's start implementing the app features one by one based on the tasks we have created that have been created using Taskmaster. Let's go ahead onto the incoming task to build, something like that. Right, and you can see it's running in YOLO mode. It's not asking me for any command, you know, for any command executions. It's just auto running it. So this is great. And yeah, you can just go, since it's in YOLO mode, as I explained before, how to set it up, right? You go on settings and put the auto run mode. It was before called YOLO mode, now it's called auto run. You can just go take a little coffee break and just come back. And there might be an error that you might encounter if you use another model. If you use a model with less context window, which is, let's see if I can bring it up. Yeah, so this was the error that, well, it's not an error, it's kind of a warning message. And this happens if you choose an agent within the cursor agent thing. You choose a model that has a lower context window. It's going to stop the agent after certain tool calls because it just doesn't have enough context to keep running. So yeah, just if you see this message, make sure to switch onto something like Gemini 2.5, or let's see what we have. Yeah, or any other model like auth or something like that. I do recommend Gemini. I think Gemini is great. Right, so I'm refining a few things, and you see also that it calls the update task, which is really, really powerful as well. So it calls these MCP tools in order to update and change any tasks from the task list, which is very powerful. I don't have to manually go and change the status of any other tasks. It does it automatically with these MCP tools, which is very powerful. It means that I can just sit down, relax for a bit, and just watch it go in a very structured manner. So yeah, it's really impressive. All right, so I'm back from my coffee break, and I let it do its thing. It seems like it wrote more than 1,000 lines of code. And yeah, before leaving, I did set up some new tasks regarding the UI, because what I usually do is that I go to Lovable or Bolt, and I prepare the entire UI with all the pages and whatnot. And then I come to Cursor, I bring the project to Cursor in order to finish the backend. And I feel that gives me maximum control, because what happens with Bolt or Lovable is that they restrain you within a specific stack, or they make you use Supabase edge functions, which for some cases it might not be the best thing. So yeah, I pass it here to have full control. If you want a video to understand how my entire process is, just let me know down in the comments. But yeah, so what I did is that I defined this task over here, co-application UI scaffolding, and yeah, I created the subtask as well. And yeah, it just allows me to, work page by page. And then I also gave it another one for the analytics page as well. And yeah, and then I gave it the order in which it should do things. So I told it, please do, so I popped this up and then I said, okay, based on the tasks that you have listed, please do task number 1, task number 2, and then jump straight away into task number 11 and 13. And, I let it be, and it did these 3 tasks by itself. And then I let it do this last one as well. And the thing is that I did not check the front end at any point, so we're gonna check it right now. So let's go here, let's do cd app, and let's do npm run dev. Let's go to localhost. Let's see what Cursor made. All right, so it did a pretty nice landing page, given that I didn't give it anything regarding the landing page. So I guess that's great. It got all of this from the PRD, I suppose. So if I hit get started now, okay. So if I hit the get started now button, it takes me to the sign in page. I'm gonna sign up. In this case, continue with Google. It also had a clerk in development mode, which is a good thumbs up. Okay, so now I'm in the dashboard. This seems to be the dashboard, and it has a hover on the card, which is amazing. I told it to use Chassis and components as well, and it did a pretty good job. Oh, this is great. So I didn't tell Cursor to go through the Supabase and all that. So this is all mock data, but still, this is pretty impressive. So you got the top performers, so you can track conversions from the YouTube videos and whatnot. If you go to the YouTube page, so we can manage YouTube channels. Yes, we can connect a new channel. This is great. Obviously the functionalities don't work, but that's the point. We work over through the UI. We make sure all of the pages and buttons all show up correctly, and then you work on the back end, right? So yes, so the YouTube works. Oh wow, okay, this is great. Drop down page, destination URL. I'm curious if it generates us a link. So let's have a look. If I put my YouTube page, see what it does. All right, so it generated the link for us, which is pretty good. And let's see if I can just copy that. If I copy that and I paste it over here. All right, that works. That's pretty good. I mean, remember that this is all mock data as well. You did a pretty good job. So we're in the links. If you go to analytics down here, you can see that we have another graph. This is supposed to be the detail analytics, metrics, right? Pretty cool. We can add a filter. Oh, pretty nice. And then we have here the performance data, right? Pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, remember that it did all this within one shot as well. So this is pretty impressive. I wonder what you can do with this. You can build really complex applications with Taskmaster. Now that you have a bit more control with the ability to go step by step, which is something that, AI code editors are not really good at. And yeah, so I've been messing with it a bit now. And if you see that it does an error and you wanted to learn from that error, what you can do then, for example, I had an error with the charts. I said I can't see the actual lines again in the chart. Please learn what mistake you have made and then add it as a cursor rule. So it's going to understand what it did wrong, and then it adds a cursor rule. So now in this case, it's going to keep learning and, accumulate and, add all of these errors as cursor rules, so that when it encounters something similar, it can refer to these cursor rules so that it ends up not doing these mistakes again, or at least that's the hope. But yeah, so keep adding these rules here and it can keep learning, and yeah, it should make less mistakes over time. So this is a pretty solid setup if you want less errors within your cursor projects. And I think this is amazing, man. So yeah, I'll leave the video there because I think that's good enough for you to understand how much you can do with Taskmaster and all the other little tips that I mentioned to you in just a few shots, right? It took me a few prompts to get to this, because now the agent has a structured way in which we can follow the tasks, and this was not possible before, right? This changes the way we vibe code, and I don't know if to call it vibe code anymore. This is more of a structured way of vibe coding. So yeah, if you want to learn more about this, if you want access to this code or whatnot, or any other guides, let me know what you want and I'll put it in the community. But yeah, I think I'll leave the video there. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and follow. And if you didn't like it, let me know why in the comments below. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for any other videos, in addition to what I mentioned regarding preparing the UI on Bolt or Lovable and pushing it then to Cursor, you want to see that process, if you're interested about that, then let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to do that video. Cool. Right. I'll see you guys in a bit. Thank you. Bye.